People with criminal backgrounds can work for the city of Austin.
But city policy also says certain criminals, like sex offenders, cannot work around vulnerable populations like children. The list of jobs that fall into that category does not include some IT workers, the people who respond to service calls when a city computer needs fixing, people like Ramon Arroyo. KXAN investigator Kylie McGivern discovered a gap in city policy, putting him in places like parks and pools around children for years.
Through these doors, inside this Southeast Austin warehouse, an IT support analyst named Ramon Arroyo sits day in, day out, isolated, away from the public. Arroyo's employer, the city of Austin, moved him to that location after learning he was charged in May with child molestation. He'd worked near children hundreds of times, fixing computers at places like Barton Springs and Deep Eddy Pools, the Darty Arts and Pan American Recreation Centers, and Montopolis and Garrison Parks, where this mother takes her child to play.
They really should work harder to keep sex offenders away from our children.
But the city's known all along, through not one, not two, but at least 3 criminal background checks that showed Arroyo was already on the sex offender registry, put there after accepting a 10-year probation in another child molestation case 2 decades ago.
The city of Austin has been negligent.
While court documents show Arroyo knew the children in both cases, the victim services group Safe Alliance warns
it is still absolutely the case that the public would be at risk if there's someone that has a sex offense in their criminal history.
Does that raise any red flags?
Well, we would hope that anyone that has been accused of these crimes, an employer would take that seriously and reassign them to jobs that wouldn't be in contact where there would be many youth. Better safe than sorry.
So why did the city wait so long to separate Arroyo from the public? After all, his name first appeared on the sex offender registry 2 decades ago.
I don't know what happened and why special accommodations were made. I've had individuals on my team who've been convicted and I've terminated for lesser charges, lesser offenses.
If he were convicted today, what would you do?
I mean, probably terminate.
But the city might never have to make that decision. Emails we obtained point to Arroyo's work history and long tenure as reasons to keep him on, at least until he's eligible to retire later on this month.
When people watch this, I mean, if they're thinking what I'm thinking, they're going to think, how does this happen? How does somebody with this kind of history have this access, and why is he continuing on to retirement?
When the arrest happened, we responded promptly, where we removed him from the public. Just looking at his work history, there was nothing that said that we should not continue to honor the accommodation.
It's coming out of the taxpayers' money to pay this person, and it's very, very upsetting to me. Why is he being protected, and why aren't our children being protected?
We've learned Arroyo did complete the probation from his first charge years ago. As for the charge last year, that's still playing out in court. The city tells us Arroyo was never alone around children, that another employee met him on site every time. We've yet to see any records proving that. Back to you.
Thanks, Kylie. Arroyo's retirement with the city is set to go into effect at the end of this month.
We reached out to Arroyo and his lawyer, who declined to speak with us.
There shouldn't be someone with any sex offense or on the sex offender registry, no matter what the charge is, anywhere near our children.
Tonight, the Austin City Council speaking out after a KXAN investigation revealed a registered sex offender and city employee responding to hundreds of work orders at parks, pools, and recreation centers, putting him near children for years. The city going to great lengths to keep him on the payroll even after a new charge of child molestation.
KXAN investigator Kylie McGivern joins us from City Hall with an update.
Before our report, we called, emailed, and gave this packet of information to the mayor and all 10 city council members. In it, it outlines the city's policy on criminal background checks and jobs related to putting workers near vulnerable populations. Ramon Arroyo's role as an IT worker not considered one of those jobs. So far, Councilmember Ellen Troxclair is the only leader speaking with us about the gap in policy that allowed this to happen.
In situations like this, it always makes you wonder how many other people do we have employed that this might be the case, you know?
Here's the thing, the city doesn't know. HR told us it does not maintain a list of employees who are registered sex offenders, saying per state law, only the state is allowed to keep this information in a database. The city only tracks whether or not a person has a successful criminal background check.
A question that I have now, of course, after hearing about this one situation, is that are there other people on the City of Austin's payroll that are being put in positions that possibly make the public unsafe? Because that's absolutely unacceptable.
Keep in mind, the city can hire people with criminal backgrounds so long as where they work doesn't put anyone at risk. Councilmember Troxclair tells us because of our report, she is bringing her questions and concerns to city management. Back to you.
All right, Kylie, thank you. And we spoke with the group Safe Alliance, which advocates for children. They want better oversight of workers with risky backgrounds and periodic checkups.
We also reached out to Arroyo and his attorney, who declined to speak with us. The case against him for last year's child molestation charge is still playing out in the court process. More about that and our full report right now in this story in the investigative section at KXAN.com.